This is the round ahead. Thanks to Coles, I'm Sarah Olle, Chad Wingard and Josh Gabelich alongside me, guys. Those nasty bye rounds, they're in the rear view mirror. Josh, it means we've got a full complement of games to dissect. So let's have a look at how round 17 is shaping up, because on Thursday night it is North and the Dogs, and then we've got a double header on Friday. We begin at the G, then we head west to Optus Stadium. On Saturday, it's the Bombers. They meet Gold Coast before we go down to the Highway. It's a battle of the felines there, and then it's Brisbane and Port Adelaide at the Gabba, over to Marvel Stadium for St Kilda and Hawthorn, and then the two games on Sunday, Sydney hosting Fremantle and Adelaide and the D's. But let's kick things off with Thursday night footy. Thanks to Coles, it's at Marvel Stadium. The Western Bulldogs meeting North Melbourne in Tom Liberatore's 250th game. We'll get to that just shortly. But Josh, it's also a massive night for the North Melbourne Football Club. They celebrate their centenary.
Well, Sarah, we've seen Hawthorn and the Western Bulldogs do this really well this year. Tomorrow night, we're going to see North Melbourne celebrate their centennial celebration. And it's not just about the 100 years, it's also about the 50th anniversary of their first premiership. We're seeing those scenes right there with Ron Barassi in 1975. Been a lot of drama around this, but we're going to see at least 10 of the 16 living players involved in this ceremony. More than 30 of their greats involved pre-game, including all 6 of their 300-game legends. Brent Harvey, Glenn Archer, Adam Simpson will be there. Even Todd Goldstein will be out on ground because, of course, he is a 300-game player at that club. It's a huge night, Chad, for this club, given they're coming off such a disappointing performance in Launceston. And it's part of the reason we're going to see Dennis Pagan deliver a pre-game address, such an iconic figure at Arden Street. They need to respond.
Yeah, and you think about someone who can get him up and about. It's either going to be him or Clarko. And like I said, it's important to I suppose, honour the history of such an amazing club. And obviously, hopefully that sparks a bit of, I suppose, next few years. So hopefully where I think they can get to, and where Clarko, and obviously hope the fans they can get to.
So it's a massive night for the North Melbourne Football Club. We hope they can respond from a disappointing showing last week. But when it comes to the Western Bulldogs, they are bringing fire and energy. And there's a young player really leading the charge, Joel Frazier. For mine, Josh, he's looming as one of the steals of his draft year, and he's fresh off that massive SCG performance against the Swans.
Oh, look at him here. He was phenomenal. He went forward, kicked 4 goals, a career high. We've seen him play everywhere across his first 2 years. Now, don't forget, he was recruited as a wingman at pick 45. There were knocks on his competitiveness and his ability to go inside. Last year, he started at half-back. This year, he's fired in the midfield. And we've been trying to see, Chad, how they get their perfect midfield mix right because of so many quality options in there. Well, I think we've seen it now, the blueprint going forward, because he did spend a fair bit of time forward, had only the 3 centre bounce attendances at the SCG. And if you look at that 2023 draft, it is looming as a super draft, and super drafts need players to emerge from the third round and beyond. And 2001 is the one we always look at. Well, who's taken with the first pick in the third round? It was Sam Mitchell. Dane Swan was even further back, 2 Brownlow medalists. I'm not saying Joel Frazier's going to get there, but he is lifting up the bottom end of that 2023 draft class.
Yeah, and he's been super impressive. But some of the guys that Western Bulldogs have drafted and played this year are super impressive, and they're all in, I suppose, their early stages of their career. Think about Joel Frazier, he's 19 years old. Sam Darcy's 21. James O'Donnell, who I really like, is 22. And we forget about Riley Sanders. He's also 20 years old. So it feels like they're doing like a list rejuvenation as well as contending this season for the premiership. So they've got some pretty important players that are up and rising as well.
And there's certainly a lot to celebrate at the Western Bulldogs. Last week it was Marcus Bontempelli, 250 for their skipper. And this week it's 250 for a much-loved player in Tom Liberatore, who is the subject of the player portrait.
Yes, that's right, Sarah. Tom Liberatore is the definition of a heart and soul player. Tomorrow night, the Western Bulldogs' favourite son will become just the 14th player to reach 250 games for that club. He's always done it his own way, which is why he's one of the great enigmas in the AFL. The 2 hours each weekend we see only tell part of Lib's story. So last week, I went with him to a homework club at Caroline Chisholm College in Braybrook to find out why he's so revered at the Whitten Oval and what his next chapter looks like after footy. Every Monday during the school term, the 33-year-old is involved in a homework club run by the Western Bulldogs Community Foundation, where he mentors students in years 7, 8 and 9 from African backgrounds. Most don't know who he is. Most don't care who he is. They all just want help. Last year, he ran a wellbeing program at Port Phillip Prison. Unlike the homework club, These inmates, aged 18 to 25, all knew who Tom Liberatore was and how he went on the weekend. But across 3 6-week blocks, Libba mentored them on mental health, goal setting, future employment, nutrition and fitness, and the impact, they say, was profound. This is what life looks like after footy for Libba. He studied social work and gets as much satisfaction from helping people emerge from difficult situations in life as playing good footy on weekends. When he was at the Crossroads in 2018 and 2019, he thought he'd already be working full-time in social work by now. Instead, he's still one of the best inside midfielders in the business. And tomorrow night, Tom and Tony Liberatore will join Ken and Dustin Fletcher as the only father-son duos to play 250 games for the same club. The 16th season is all but locked in for Libba in 2026. Beyond that, more homework clubs and remand centres beckon for a player who is the classic case of not judging a book by its cover.
Josh, thank you so much. Great to get an insight to the Libba off the field. And remember, watch Thursday night footy for a Coles goal and an exclusive Coles app offer. Let's get into Friday night footy though. It's as big as they come at the MCG. Old foes Carlton and Collingwood. Josh, let's stick with the Pies because at training, I guess some mixed news. We got the confirmation Brayden Maynard, he is back, but a setback for Jordan De Goey.
So much going on yesterday at Collingwood, Sarah. Jordan De Goey edging towards a return from Achilles inflammation. He was still a few weeks away, but he got concussed in this incident with Brayden Maynard. So he's in the protocols. It means his return will be delayed somewhat. But the good news is Brayden Maynard is finally ready to go. He's missed the last month with a plantar fascia issue. He was expected to only miss 1 game, so he misses 4 games in the end. They finally get him back. Still side bottom, unlikely to get up due to illness. He wasn't out there yesterday. Lockie Schultz was pushing for a return, but he's also a crook as well, so don't expect to see him back. Bobby Hill could miss again. He missed last week due to personal reasons. No guarantee to return on Friday night. Charlie West is the other one. Came in for a debut, now out for 6 weeks with a stress fracture in his foot. But there is a debutant in the form of Rowan Steele. This is a guy that was plucked out of the waffle a month ago, a 23-year-old who moved across to Perth during the summer to join West Perth and spent the last few years at Casey. Wasn't even really expecting to be drafted this year. Just made the move to join up with his family. So a huge result a month later for him to come in and make his AFL debut out of the mid-season rookie draft. And Tom Mitchell's the other one.
Yes.
Just keep an eye on him this week. Now, he's played 7 games, Chad, back in the VFL, coming off that plantar fascia issue last year. Hasn't played at AFL level since Anzac Day last year. And all of a sudden, he's back in the frame. Could we see him on Friday night be big in?
Yeah, and the reason why we haven't is obviously he's come off that injury, and also Ned Long is probably his position where he plays, so that he's been playing so well and coming off the best on ground, and he's had a couple of those now for VFL. So he looks confident, but again, I think Collingwood in a position where they can kind of play some players, rest him, he might be a guy that can come in.
Are you guys superstitious at all?
Not overly.
Well, this is spooky. Let's have a look at the ladder comparisons this year on to 2023, of course. We know what happened then. The Pies, they went on to win the flag. Those numbers are near identical, Chad, except they've got a bit of a nicer buffer this time around. My question to you is, are they peaking too early, Craig McRae's team, or is there such a thing?
No, I don't think so. And like I said, they've got a 10-point advantage, like that didn't have equal points in 2023. But what I love about them this year, and especially 2023, when they won the flag, is that they won close games. When they're close, I suppose the margin gets closer, Collingwood seem to just get better. They know they've been in this position, they don't get spooked, and that's something that we can't say for the team that they're coming up against this week.
Do we give Carlton any chance on Friday night?
I don't, but Chad's the master of the upset tipping.
I don't see an upset. I think obviously there's a lot of stigma and a lot of talk about Carlton, but no, I think Collingwood will be too good.
Let's head to the SCG. That's where the Swans are hosting the Dockers on Sunday. In fact, Justin Longmuir's side are gunning for the first time for 7 wins in a row, if you don't mind. And our hook for this game is all about the big boys. We've been pumping them up. Brodie Grundy in the ruck alongside Luke Jackson. This is set to be an epic battle, Josh, with 2 players that are in red-hot form.
Well, Sarah, last week we discussed Brodie Grundy and his form at Sydney. Now played 41 of 41 since moving from Melbourne, and he's almost back to that 2018-2019 form when he became a 2-time All-Australian and a 2-time Copeland Trophy winner. So I just love that he backed up that form again with the performance against Tim English. And Chad, right now, there are probably 5 outstanding ruckmen in the game that could all be All-Australian by the end of the year. I think it's the most hotly contested ruck spot we've had in the best part of a decade. And he comes up against Luke Jackson, who's in red-hot form.
Yeah, when you think about the ruckman chat, just Fremantle have two amazing ruckmen that's in the same team. I think like having Darcy, that's his best performance of the year, and he really was the number one ruckman. But it doesn't take away from Luke Jackson. That's what I love at the moment. But we've spoken about it. What do they look like best? Is it one ruckman? Is it two ruckmen? On the weekend, they obviously played against St Kilda, but they looked very good. And obviously, they've won 6 on the trot. Can they win 7? I'm backing them this week. I think they're going to get it done in Sydney. I just don't think that Sydney are going to have the runs on the board for me to back them at this point.
How do you feel, Josh? Swans or Dockers?
Well, the Dockers have got the job done in the past couple of visits, so I think they will get it done. It was a tight finish, though, last year.
It was.
Logan McDonald moment.
I was watching poolside. I was not happy by the Sheraton Mirage, but let's get on to some football. And at Marvel Stadium, Essendon are set to host the Gold Coast Suns. Now, Chad, we don't need to look too far back to remember what happened when they played there last year. It was Mac Andrew who was the hero, or I guess the villain, depending what side of the equation you were on. But this was an incredible goal late to seal the win.
Yeah, this was like a make-it moment for him. I just remember this very distinctly. Like, who's this kid? He's come in with his swagger and confidence, especially in this game. He really showed it. And like, he looked like, look at that confidence, quiet, hush the crowd, hush the fans. I'm here, I've made it. And what a finish. I mean, that takes a lot of confidence, a lot of guts to back yourself in those moments. And that's what every kid dreams about coming up. And whether you're watching footy or not, it's to be in those moments, to be in a sporting venue with that many people watching, team on your shoulders, and you get it done.
You would have done that a few times, no? The silencing of the crowd?
No, you know me, just keep it going.
You didn't celebrate it.
Now, Josh, curiously, the Bombers are coming off the bye, so you'd think no news, but in fact, it's the opposite. There's been some injuries. Tell us a little bit more about the Dons.
Well, Sarah, for the second time this season, they come off the bye with a loss, really, when you consider how many injuries they had across the weekend. Kyle Langford will miss at least a few more with a quad strain. Darcy Parish back out with a calf strain. And Mason Redman's the other one. He's been ruled out with hamstring awareness. So just when it felt like they were going to get some names back after dealing with so many outs ahead of the mid-season bye, they're not going to get them back. They might get Zach Reid and Jordan Ridley back. They both need to be ticked off at main training this week ahead of this game. But still no Ben Mackay, some issues down back. And just when they needed some luck, they had some misfortune during the weekend off.
It's July. Do you know what that means?
It's Big Boy Month.
It's Big Boy Month, baby. This was a phrase coined by Damien Hardwick when he was Richmond coach back in 2015. It rings true a decade on. And look at the Suns next month. Essendon at Marvel, as we've discussed. Then, Chad, it's Collingwood, Adelaide and Brisbane. That is Big Boy Month in my eyes.
It is. You're playing 3 of the most informed teams at the moment, and obviously if Gold Coast want to make finals and make their debut, this is the part where I was a little bit worried looking at the fixture at the start of this season. I knew they had a really easy run, but they've finished home. They've got a lot of games home, which help. They've got 1, 2, 3. They've got 5 games at People's First, which they've got to make the most of, Josh, and that's where I think they're going to have to get those wins, especially when you come up against Richmond and Essendon. They're the 2 ones back home they need to make sure that they pencil in.
They've always had issues in July. I mean, that should come as no surprise because they've had a pretty poor record post-bye. Last year they were 1-3 in Damien Hardwick's first season. Now, they need to split this month, really. They have to win on Saturday. They've got a tough run. The next 3 games are very tough, but Saturday's crucial.
Do you have confidence in them playing finals? I'd be really disappointed if they missed out altogether.
I'm believing in them now.
I think so, especially when they've got games at home. Like it's Big Boy Month, but if you're Big Boy Month and you've got 2 games at home, I think you're pretty happy with that. And the away game is against, obviously, Essendon at Marvel, which you should pencil in. So I think you're right, Josh. They do need to at least split this.
Let's head to Adelaide Oval next. Melbourne travelling to take on Adelaide. The Crows are going to go in as red-hot favourites, but the D's have actually had the better of the ledger, winning the past 5 of 6. And as I get you guys to get up to the wall, one of the players to watch is in the running for the Rising Star. His name is Dan Curtin. I don't know, Josh. I feel like there are so many players currently that are vying for that Rising Star gong. It's going to be a pretty hotly debated award.
I'm with you on this, Sarah. It's round 17, Chad, and there isn't a clear standout favourite for the Rising Star. In fact, I think there are 6, maybe 7 real leading contenders with 2 months to play this year. We've spent so much time discussing Levi Ashcroft and Harvey Langford, and both have been sensational in their debut seasons. I think it's time now to talk about Dan Curtin because what he's doing in his second season has been superb. Pick 8 in 2023, having a massive impact in a variety of roles under Matthew Nicks.
Yes, and speaking about the variety of roles, he really reminds me of Justin Westhoff, one of my former teammates, the beard, the Hoff. And the reasons why is he can play multiple positions. He's played key back, he's played on the wing. On the weekend, he had 26 disposals, 2 goals and 8 marks, playing up forward. So it's a good problem to have when you've got a guy that can called Mr. Fix-It, playing him in multiple roles. But what a start he's had.
Incredible. 197 centimetres. I'm intrigued to see how they use him long term. Now, 3 of these players were taken in the space of 4 picks in the November of 2023. We've discussed Nate Caddy a lot. I mean, he's been incredible after being taken at pick 10. What about Connor O'Sullivan? This guy has been developed really nicely, played just the 1 game in his first season at Geelong, but this year Chris Scott has let him off the leash and he looks at home down back.
He does look at home, and I think there's 2 positions that are the hardest positions to, I suppose, have an immediate impact. One's the ruckman and one's the key defender, because you're giving up size automatically. And for him, he's only conceded 1.8 goals per game. And if you think about against the All-Australian tall defenders this year, we got Wilkie, less than him, less than Harris Andrews, and less than Sam Collins. So it just shows the ability to keep his opponents goalless.
He looks every bit a 250-game player of the future. Mention Nate Caddy then. Essendon fans have been absolutely loving Archie Roberts. Pick 54 in 2023. Don't sleep on him. He's having a sneaky, very good second season in the AFL. Murphy Reed's not sneaking up on anyone. Fremantle locked him in for 2 more years through to 2029 last week. Chad, what he's doing forward of centre right now is standing out. He's got one of the best money kicks in the business.
Yeah, and he's playing so well. You think about a first-year player being a small forward. He's kicked 17 goals early on. In my first year, I kicked 9 in 19 games, so it just shows how consistent he's been. He's kicked a goal in 11 out of his first 15 games. But again, speaking of his consistency, it's super impressive. And the other thing I love is not just his goals he's kicking. He's second at Fremantle for goal assists with 11 so far. So he's just having that impact all over the ground.
Also second in the AFL behind Pat Lipinski for the money kick, which is marks from inside 50s, going at 40% and an amazing retention rate. So with 2 months to play, Chad, who are you picking? Talk me through who's going to win the Ron Evans medal in 2025.
Well, it's going to come as a shock to both of you, but I'm going with being biased again with a small forward. I think Murphy Reed has just put on a season that's pretty remarkable.
I'm going to stick with Harvey Langford. He's been my pick since the start of the season. Sarah, who are you going with?
Well, some compelling cases you're making. I like the Murphy Reed case indeed, but I'm going to be boring. I'm sticking with my boy, Levi Ashcroft. I think what he's doing at Brisbane, getting into that premiership side and more than holding his own, it's rather impressive.
That is a very, very safe bet indeed.
Let's head down the highway. Geelong will be hosting Richmond. That we know no Tom Lynch after his 5-match ban. It hasn't been a happy hunting ground for the Tigers, as it is for a lot of sides, I guess you could say. They haven't won there since 2006. Up the other end of the ground, though, for Cats forward Jeremy Cameron. He's leading the Coleman medal race. Josh, is this a good chance for him to fill up his boots against a Tigers side that is starting to look a little bit tired?
Well, it does feel like a great opportunity for him. They're coming off the bye. He's 8 goals clear right now of Jesse Hogan, and there's real doubt around Jesse Hogan's availability on Friday night. So this is an opportunity for him to put a double-digit wedge between him and the next best in the Coleman medal. Hasn't won one at Geelong. Won one at GWS, of course, in 2019. Has a decent record against Richmond, although in these past 2 games against them, he's been held to 1 goal straight. But did kick 6 in his first season at Geelong. So one to watch on Saturday. It's a game within a game.
Now, we mentioned off the top, it is Tom Liberatore's 250th game. A bit of a cult figure, a hero at the Western Bulldogs. And it got us thinking we might go into the archives and look at our top 5 cult heroes of all time. And we're going to kick things off with the big Q, the Q stick, Josh. Hard to leave out Quinton Lynch.
Absolutely not. This is Quinton Lynch at his absolute best, the glove. So this crowd would erupt when he was anywhere within 70 metres and he whips off the glove. Have a look at him there. That means he's going for goal. Doesn't matter if he's 70 out. Look at him from here.
Whoa.
That is 65 out and it's going through.
Look at the score, 160.
We don't really say that anymore, do we? Coming in at 4, it is Jake King, a.k.a. the Push-Up King. Getting some air there, Chad.
How good is that? I mean, the push-up king, I love the guys who would bring energy, and he was one of the guys with the best at it. I mean, look at that mark that he almost took there. And he's one of the guys. It was like a real personality of the league at his time. And like I said, the push-up king, how many push-ups can he do? No one ever knows. He's over 100, but he was a good player to watch.
Coming in at number 3, it's Danny Southern. And look at that rude rat's tail there, Josh. I can't imagine you really sporting one of those hairdos.
No, but I was a massive Danny Southern fan. He was terrifying. Have a look at him.
He still is.
He was a beast. So I love that he's found his way into this list because he is the quintessential cult figure.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really get hair like that these days. Maybe a Malay. But coming in at number 2, cliving and thriving. It's Clive Waterhouse. And Chad, do you have a story about playing against him?
Yes, I've got a story about Clive Waterhouse. So when I was 16 years old, I actually played against him in a grand final at Murray Bridge against Annan. So he was a scary man back then as well.
And speaking of scary men, at number 1, it is the G-Train. God, he's fun to watch.
The best. I mean, this is not peak G-Train mullet vision, but it's peak G-Train.
I loved him. What I loved about him the most is that whenever he got a mark outside 50, he'd use the umpire as a screen and he'd just run around and kick bomber from 50.
Good craft.
I loved him. Great craftsmanship. I loved him. He was a great player to watch.
So they're the top 5 cult figures in the game. If you think we've missed one, hit us up, because it was hard, wasn't it, to narrow it down to just 5. And sticking with St Kilda, that's where we head next. They're playing Hawthorn. And when it comes to the Hawks, they're coming off this sensational win from Tassie, Josh, but it's been soured somewhat by the news regarding Josh Weddle.
Devastating blow, Sarah. This landed yesterday with Josh Weddle ruled out for most, if not all, the rest of 2025. He's got a stress fracture in his back. He reported some soreness when he returned from Launceston over the weekend, and scans yesterday did reveal some bone stress in his lumbar. So a huge blow, because there's every chance now, Chad, that he doesn't get back this year. He's become a real Mr. Fix-It for Sam Mitchell, played in so many different roles. Actually sat down with him last week for a feature this weekend, so I've had to scrap that.
Sad for you.
Yeah, devastating for me. But clearly with Hawthorn, there's a selection dilemma for Sam Mitchell and the match committee at Waverley Park, because all of a sudden they've got so many key forward options. Now, Mitch Lewis got through his return game at VFL level. He probably needs one more. Cal Shadir took 12 marks for Box Hill and looks ready to go again. But how can you replace them right now, given what these 3 are doing in the team against North Melbourne?
Yeah, well, the thing is, it was against North Melbourne, and they're trying to win games at the pinnacle of the season, which is in the finals. And who do you trust the most? And I think Mitchy Lewis is definitely one for me that I would trust, but he needs to put the runs on the board.
Yeah.
You've got Max Ransome. I love the
rush.
kid. He is great, but he, again, doesn't have the experience that a Mitchy Lewis has at this moment. But I think the mix is the most important thing. You've got Gunston, who's a bit more of a leading forward. You've got Chol, who's the athletic profile. What's going to, I suppose, help them to achieve what they want to achieve? Is it a Mitchy Lewis? Is it Kel Shadir? Is it to take Chol out of the second ruck position? So a dilemma that they've got, but a good one to have, because some teams don't have they're supposed people to bring in to when a player like Josh Weddle comes out as well.
Use the T word, trust. And we saw Mabior Chol there coming off 5 goals, that huge rundown tackle. Do we trust Mabior in a big final? I feel like that's been one of the question marks hanging over him. Do you feel like, Chad, in September, he's the kind of player that could stand up? I
trust him 100%, because if it's not goals, he's giving effort. And a lot of people don't see it or watch it enough, but being inside that club, the chase down tackles, the pressure that he puts on, it's not just goals and behinds that is his measure. So that's something that you can't replace as a tall forward, because you've got all the small forwards to do that. If you've got your tall forward leading the way, it's something that you need, as I suppose, in the pinnacle of the season.
100th game for Mabior this weekend.
Big milestone
as well. I know it can get missed because he's at his 3rd club, but he's having a huge impact. Top 10 in the Coleman right now.
Someone who's having a huge impact, albeit they've only played 2 games. Get out your Viking hats, because the Flying Viking, Alex Taru, he's made a real imprint on the competition after just 2 matches, coming off the 14 spoils against Fremantle there. And this is a player I really think, Josh, that St Kilda fans can get excited by, and they wouldn't have had access to him were it not for Josh Battle's departure. Tell us a bit more around that.
Yeah, I've looked into this week. Obviously, St Kilda fans will know that this is the compensation pick they got for losing Josh Battle. It was pick 10 in the end. Only 2 games in, he looks like an absolute winner. One to follow across the duration of his career, because he'll always be linked to Josh Battle. That's the nature of free agency compensation. And Chad, free agency didn't start until 2012. And since then, there've really only been a handful of really tangible examples. And the most obvious one to start with was Angus Brayshaw. He was the James Frawley compensation. We can't forget that Richmond turned Tyrone Vickery into Shea Bolton at pick 29. An incredible pick. Tom Rockcliffe moved to Port. That became Brandon Starcevic for Brisbane as well. So some clubs have done it really well. And Isaac Rankin was the one that came in at the Gold Coast Suns for Tom Lynch, pick 3 all those years ago. I know he's moved on, but that is another example. And the more recent one is Ben Mackay leaving North Melbourne has become Zane Duursma. Hasn't quite worked yet, but one to track.
The compensation pick, though, I guess it does work because there are a lot of detractors. But look what you can get. You can unearth someone like Alex Taru. On Friday night, as we mentioned off the top, it's a double header. So the second game will be in the West between the Eagles and the Giants. Curiously, Chad, it hasn't been a happy hunting ground for GWS over at Optus Stadium at all.
No, they're 1-4 record against West Coast at Optus Stadium. So I think they will get the job done. But West Coast have showed some size, and some of the young players, Josh, are really stepping up at the moment.
Yeah, if I'm a West Coast supporter right now, I know they're 1-14. It's July. You could almost tune out a little bit of this season, but I think across the last month we're starting to see some real reasons to be invested in what Andrew McQualter is doing at West Coast. And we want to point out 4 names that to be excited about across the back end of the year. And Tom McCarthy's the first one. I mean, so much has been spoken about this guy, given he was taken at pick 1 at the age of 24 in the mid-season rookie draft. You look at his first 2 games, Chad, they've been incredible. 31 disposals on debut, 29 in his second game, and he's having high impact across half-back. Such a damaging player. Liam Baker's the other one I want to discuss with you, because right now it's taken him a little bit of time to get going at West Coast, but he almost feels like the next captain of that club. We know Oscar Allen is probably going to depart.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly right. It actually reminds me a little bit of Jordan Dawson.
Good comparison.
At Adelaide, he just comes in, gets the job done. He's averaging 23 disposals off half-back, and like I said, the best game on the weekend, he had 35 disposals. But the real leadership that he's showing could be a captain next year, as you just mentioned, and someone that I suppose they can look up to and really build around.
Brady Hoff was on that graphic as well. He had 27 disposals, went at 100%. He is someone that is really rising in 2025. And Job Shanahan, did he catch your eye? Because this guy was taken at pick 30 last November. The Eagles think they have a steal there, and he did show something on Saturday night.
Yeah, again, like you think about the guys that are coming in and just getting the job done, and like he does look super potent, great size, good hands, and like I said, West Coast Eagles, it's important to find these kind of players at this point in the season, because yes, you're not playing for finals, you're not playing for points.
This is the one.
This is the one. Like, that's on Darcy Moore. That's on
and
someone who's
shot.
Like that's a beautiful set shot. So a kid that comes in and just gets the job done, you're going to find these diamonds in the rough, especially with the rest of the season for them. That's what they're going to look for.
The last game we're going to cover is Brisbane up against Port Adelaide. Port actually have a pretty formidable recent record against the Lions, who will go in as favourites. Just a tip from you both. The Power are kind of steadying the ship a little bit. Kenny's doing a great job there in the second half of the season. Will you stick with your man Ken, or do you reckon the Lions?
No, I don't think it's going to be another Ken legacy game. I think Brisbane are going to get the job done.
Josh?
I'm with you. Brisbane at home.
All right, and remember, kids still go free, so make sure you get down to the footy for round 17. That's been the round ahead. Thanks to Coles. Have a great weekend and enjoy the football.